Good day and welcome to another edition of Christians in Politics, the program that brings you political matters and update. Today we shall continue with the topic we treated last week. It is the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Last week on this program we looked at some of the major sections of this act that is causing uproar in the country. So today we shall be having a legal practitioner who will be interpreting the act for us. He shall be telling us the advantages and disadvantages of all the various sections of this act and of what importance it is to our nation. I am Smart Simon, and with me in the studio is the Venerable Tunde Oyeshina, Esquire. He is the Vicar of St. Bartholomew's Cathedral, Anglican Diocese of Kubwa, and also a legal practitioner.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for gracing our invitation.
Thank you very much.
Quickly, we would like us to help us, educate us with the content of this act.
Okay. Thank you very much. The Company and Allied Matters Act was first promulgated in 1990.
Okay.
And basically what the reason for this, the reason is simply to regulate the formation. However, the Corporate Affairs Commission is the regulatory body.
Okay.
Is like the one that enforce, that implement the provision of the CAMA. Now, in earlier this year, there was an amendment which was forwarded to the President. And on August 7, 2020, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the amendment. In all fairness to CAMA, apart from some few lacunas that are there, in all fairness to CAMA, it will improve the way and manner companies are run in Nigeria. Basically, there are about 7 main new provisions that are there, which to me, as a legal practitioner, it's okay to run the company within the country. Now, the first one is the new CAMA, which provides for remote or virtual general meetings. Now, of course, we know that after COVID-19, there are so many things that have to change.
Yeah.
Now, it included in CAMA now general meeting. Instead of calling an annual general meeting when everybody will come around, now CAMA have provided that such a meeting can be virtual. The provision of electronic filing. Now, it's not compulsory that you have to be at CAC in person before you can do your filing. You can do your electronic filing from anywhere you are, as long as there is network where you are and what you are filing can get to the site of CAC. Another one is the enhancement of minority shareholder protection and engagement. The minority shareholder in an organization, their rights are protected. Don't be like the winner takes all. Even someone who has little share in an organization, his right is also protected. Another thing is the introduction of statement of compliance. Statement of compliance signed by the applicant or his agent, confirming therein the requirement of law as to the registration has been complied. That a company provided for them to do has been done. Now, there is another one which is limited liability partnership and limited partnership. There is reduction of filing fees for registration of charges. That one is an ease to people who wants to start business in Nigeria. Business rescue provision for insolvent companies. That is, business can be protected when companies is about to be liquidated. And also procurement of a common seal, replacements of authorized share capital with minimum share capital, exemption from appointing auditors, provision of single member shareholders company, exemption from appointment of company secretaries, restriction of multiple directorship in public companies.
Yeah.
Now, aside the area that has to do with religious bodies, that has to do with charitable organization, that has to do with churches, that is section 839. I think for me, all other provisions in the amended CAMA will go a long way to boost the ease of doing business.
All right. Thank you so much, Venerable Tunde. Now, you are aware that section 839,
yes,
subsection 1,
and even subsection 2.
Okay, so these are the sections uproar in the country. Will you please help us, possibly, if you have it, read that section and possibly interpret them for us? We want to understand what this section is all about.
Okay, well, I'll just summarize. I'll read the abridged version.
Okay.
Now, section 839, sub 1 and 2. Now, sub 1 of the Act, what it does is that it empowers the CAC to suspend the trustees of an association and appoint interim managers to manage the affairs of the association where it reasonably believes that there is or has been a misconduct or mismanagement in the administration of the association.
Okay.
Now, this is part of, now before I move away from this, now let me quickly say this. Now for me as a legal practitioner, I don't, now let me state this before I talk on this. There is nothing wrong when organizations, when charity organizations, when religious organizations are regulated. Nothing wrong about it. I'm still coming to this.
Yeah.
But let me quickly say this. Nothing is wrong about it. Now, take for instance, let's look at the protocols the church is following now because of this COVID-19.
Yeah.
Wherein, before you come into the church, you wash your hands, you are tested with a thermometer, you use face mask, there is social distancing in sitting down. Those are part of regulations.
Yeah.
It's part of the extent of infringing on the rights of the church.
Okay.
Now, so that's what I said. That's why I said I agree. I like it when churches, NGOs, charitable houses are regulated to the extent that it does not infringe on their right as guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. That's but amazing. When their right is being infringed, then it's becoming a thing of concern, which the church should rise up against using legal instrument. Take for instance section 89 sub 1, which says the act empowers CAC to suspend trustees of an association. The association includes church now. And appoint interim managers to manage the affairs of the association. In fact, there is even a lacuna. Where will the managers come from?
Exactly.
Who and who will be the manager? Exactly. So there is something that is missing here. Are you bringing the managers from members of that organization, or are you bringing the organization?
Okay.
Now, another thing is this. One thing that worries me here about this provision, abuses. We know that many a times we have good laws, we have good intentions that are abused because of selfishness and interest.
Exactly.
Now, take for instance, how will the government, how will CAC on its own determine what constitutes misconduct, mismanagement, or public interest when enforcing the act? It's my contention that the implication of the above is that the government would be the one to determine misconduct.
Exactly.
CAC will be the only one to determine misconduct. So the Registrar General can wake up one morning, and because I didn't like your face, and because you preach a sermon that I think you are referring to me, now I can say because of that I am closing your church, I am sacking all all your trustees, and I'm setting up a 2 specifically that the trustees shall be suspended by a court upon the petition of the CAC or members consideration, and the petitioners shall present all reasonable evidence as requested by the court in respect of. If CAC now becomes the alpha and the omega, then where's the place of?
That's right.
The CAC is the one that can determine who has wrong. Where is the court in this matter? You see, another controversial portion there is the place where I'm trying to get it now. The managers to manage the affairs of their reasons bordering on mismanagement. It's not done. It's not done. It can be done for organizations that are registered under Part C of Part F. These are the contentions of the church. These are the contentions of the church. These are the contentions that should be subjected to legal review. From the legal aspect and see, is the right of the church not being infringed on here? Is the right of the church not being infringed on in this matter?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Barrister. Now, I know that CAMA has been signed into law. Is there anything that can be done, looking at all the complaints we are having right now? But before that, what is the implication of section 839, subsection 1 and 2? What is the implication? And then, now that it has already been signed, is it possible that it can be returned so that these lacunas can be looked into?
Yes, it's amendment.
Okay.
Amendment can take place as many times as possible.
That's
the moment
okay.
it is moved on the floor of the house, and the percentage of the number of majority that should moved it, it can still be returned.
All right.
And it's a trite law that law is made for men and not men for law.
Yes.
Yes. Law is made for men, not men for law.
Okay. So now, for now, any implication, any disadvantage, advantage? I know you've been able to tell us some of the advantages on the ease of doing business in Nigeria, but what are the disadvantages of CAMA?
The disadvantage, the way it is now, well, I will call it a disadvantage, but the only lacuna that I'm seeing there is the one that touches on the NGO, charitable houses, religious houses.
Okay.
These are just the advantages, because we are looking at it, it's as if they have matched them with the profit-making venture.
Okay.
Take note, those ones that are concerned in section 839, which we are talking about here, they are non-profit making.
Yeah.
They are not making any profit. Rather, they are helping the country.
Yes.
Rather,
helping the government, as we saw during the COVID-19.
Yes.
Churches were donating, supporting the government to ensure.
Not even only that, do you know, even churches and all these NGOs and charitable houses, they contribute in employing the workforce. They contribute to the workforce.
That's right.
They employ members of the society. They have school, they employ teachers, they have hospitals, they employ medical persons, they treat sick persons. And so making profit. Rather, they are putting their own profit resources into what the government should be doing. We've seen churches building roads. We've seen churches building hospitals. We've seen churches building schools. These are so responsibilities of the government. So when you are now treating a non-profit organization as a profit organization, it calls for a rethink. It actually calls for a rethink.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Now, the fear expressed by some sections of the Christian community is this section 839, subsection 1. Don't you think that this is an attempt for the government to control the church and possible stifle it?
You know, I said earlier on that my own contention here is possibly abuse of this section. Is the possible abuse of this section, which means if any church or any preacher preaches what the government of the day does not want to hear, he sends CAC after such church.
That is it.
The government of the day does not like your face, he sends CAC after such preacher. That is the contention. That is the main contention in all of this. Why should it be the CAC be the one that will determine what mismanagement, what misconduct is all about?
Another lacuna there.
Yeah, if it is subjected to the court. And again,
it has to be the court,
and again,
not Registrar General.
It is the infringement on the right of the church and its board of trustees to fair hearing. Even God gave Adam fair hearing.
Yes.
He said, Adam, where are you? He said, I am afraid. When I saw you, I see that I'm naked. He said, who told you that you were naked? God knew Adam was hiding.
Yes.
God knew he was naked, but he still gave him fair hearing. So there is a place of fair hearing. You should be able to hear them out. Somebody have come to accuse you now that you have done something, and without hearing your side, I begin to take an action against you. Is an infringement, because the Constitution gives you the right, the opportunity that you should be heard. You should be heard. And it gives you the right to religion and association. So it give you right to choose who your board of trustees will be. So if the power, that right is taken away from me, and another person now come to decide who my board of trustees is for me, it's an infringement on my right.
Okay, all right. Okay, now I'm aware that before any bill is finally signed into law, there are processes in the National Assembly. First hearing, second hearing, third hearing, and then the Committee on Privileges and all of that will look at it for final onward movement to the President for signing. And public hearing is also processes of any bill at all to be signed into law. Now, CAMA 2020, was there any point in time when they were trying to amend this act that there was public hearing? And if there was public hearing, where were the Christian Association of Nigeria? That it is now that after it has been signed into law, then you hear people shouting and all of that. Or was it that this act was smuggled into the National Assembly and it was hurriedly worked upon and then passed it to the President for assenting?
No, there are two ways to it. There have been allegations and counter allegations flying in the air that it was smuggled in.
Okay.
But the second leg is this. Do you know, many a times an average Nigerian doesn't take things serious until you see the gravity. We don't see the gravity at the starting point. Even if there had been public hearing, we might not have seen the gravity at that point. We might not have seen the gravity at the initial stage. It is when things get ripe, it is when things get ripened, that is when we begin to see the gravity of it. Of course, just like you said, if there had been public hearing on it, I want to believe this lacuna would have been seen. This lacuna would have been pointed out. And of course, you will agree with me, even you and I are not aware of this until someone raised the issue about it, which means if the person who raised the issue on this have not raised the issue, everybody will have just felt everything is going on.
Yeah.
especially Christians, that we should not just take things for granted. We should not only put our eyes on ground, we should put our ears on ground. We should not only put our ears on ground, we should put our hand on ground. We should be interested in governance. To a greater extent, most Christians are not interested in governance. We are not interested in what is happening at the top. And this one is telling us that we should not only be restricted to the four walls of our churches, we should be interested in what is happening in the larger society, so that we can put our own contribution, so that we can impute our own contribution in whatever is happening in the larger society.
All right. Now, as we try to look at this, even though you have said something, Christians should get interested in politics, what will you say about Christians who are already there? We have Christians in the National Assembly, both in the Red Chamber and the Green Chamber, and of course in the State House of Assemblies. What will you say to all those who are already there, working? Do they seem to just forget the fact that they are Christians?
Well, thank you. There's a popular saying that he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
Exactly.
Of course, you know, an average politician in Nigeria has a godfather. And when you get there, the tune you dance to is the tune of your godfather. Now, my own contention is this. See, the church should get to a point where they sponsor candidate for political seat. If church comes together and they said, we are sponsoring this candidate to occupy this seat, if eventually it gets there, you know, the church will be able to present a policy, to present an agenda. But when a single Christian comes out in the midst of others, as a Christian, when you get to political offices, you are not the one who decides those that will work with you.
Yeah.
You are not the one. It is the party structure that decides. But what I'm thinking is, if Christians are really serious about politics, then we must have a structure. We must have a structure that we can say, okay, this is the political structure of the church. At any point in time, we can fall back there. This person is a member who wants to contest. The church is buying the form for him. The church is picking up the nomination form for him. The church is going all out to campaign for him. But if the church does not buy nomination form, the church does not do the campaigning. The campaign they do is small campaign, and people outside there, somebody outside there bought the nomination form, somebody outside there did the mobilization, and eventually you get there. You will see that the influence of the church on such a person will be very minimal, because he who has paid a piper must definitely dictate the tune. So it is a serious business. If Christians are going into politics, the church should see it as a serious business. What I'm trying to say is this: the church should not see it as an individual business of each Christian. It should be a collective business of the church as a whole.
Thank you so much. So politics should be a collective business of the whole Christian body, unless they
continue to have people like this
going back and forth and all of that,
because they might want to do it, they might want to do well, but what about the people surrounding them?
Yeah,
they may have good intention, but what about the people surrounding them? And another thing, when Christian gets into power and we realize he's not doing what we want, most Christians, they fall back.
Yeah,
they leave him in the midst of wolves.
Okay, now some have suggested that there was public hearing and CAN did presentation. I don't have the fact here, but that what CAN presented was not adhered to, and that is why they went ahead, Mr. President went ahead to sign this CAMA into law. Now, if that was the case, do you think Nigeria is practicing democracy? Because in democracy, government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yes. I'll agree with you to a certain extent.
Okay.
Because even in democracy, there are division of labors and there is rule of law. I am aware presently that even this section 8391 and 2 is being challenged in court. Now, government can take decision. The reason why it's still democracy is this: government can take a decision and a citizen can challenge the decision of the government in court. Unlike when we have the military rule that it is decree. When a decree is made, you dare not challenge it.
Exactly.
But now, even this now is being challenged. Now, we've seen several laws that have been challenged at the court of law.
Okay.
And I am very aware that this one we are talking about is before the Federal High Court. Is being challenged too.
Okay.
It's being challenged too.
Okay, so that is democracy.
That is democracy.
Thank you so much, Barrister Tunde Oyeshina. Viewers, we want to go on a short break, and when we return, we will continue our discussion. But please, when we return, feel free to call us for your comments and contributions as we look at this Company and Allied Matters Act.
I believe that we Christians are responsible citizens. Peter the Apostle, Paul the Apostle encouraged us to be good citizens. Not only to pray for those in authority, but also to make sure that we do not owe taxes or levies or any, but to do our civic responsibility. You cannot talk of Nigeria government, you cannot talk of the education system, you cannot talk of whatever development in this country without the church playing her role. As citizens, we will encourage our people to do what responsible citizens should do. And as a church, though our responsibility is mainly a spiritual one, praying for those in authority, encouraging the people, counseling and teaching them the way of the Lord, and helping them to do the will of God. Within the limits of what we have, we should do what we should do as citizens. But on the other hand, why are we complaining? They want to control the economy of the church. They want to control the church and the authority of the church. That is the major argument being raised. But let me tell you, the church in Nigeria, I will talk of the church, both Pentecostals and the Orthodox, Roman Catholics and all the other things. Have we really lived out the mandate that God gave to us? Instead of preaching Jesus Christ and Him crucified and calling people to repentance and resisting evil and corruption and proclaiming faith, repentance from sin and faith in Jesus Christ and living a life that will honor God and resist the evils in our society, we are busy preaching prosperity. When the government see pastors buying private jets, although as a bishop in the Anglican Church, I don't have the freedom to do so, but there are GOs, there are the people that are making this much noise are the same people that exposed us to this danger. Okay, why should a bishop, a founder, a GO, an overseer be riding private jets, having 1, 2, and then he's not paying tax? And the government knows that it is people, the citizens who are members of that church that are supplying the money. When they give private jet gift as a birthday gift to a GO. Do you think that the government will just fold their hands and then be taxing Shell BP, or the Fort Oil? No, even those men, they have not displayed their wealth as our so-called men of God have displayed their wealth. And this is and we are under an economic pressure. And the government is fighting hard to look for money to sustain the operations of the government. And then somebody will be riding private jet and you are not asking him. And then you go to the market and the woman that is selling groundnut oil, palm oil, and this thing every day, she will be taxed, pay, and she will pay. No, we expose ourselves. Jesus said, I'm sending you as sheep among the wolves. Be as wise as serpent and as innocent as the dove. And then we come out and we are doing gara-gara. We are living in Babylon. If you don't know, this is Babylon. And you cannot be in Babylon and live according to Babylon, and you will not do the duties of Babylon. We are heavenly bound. And when we begin to emphasize things, promoting materialism, showing off that this is how you know who has arrived. Who is a successful pastor? It's not a faithful pastor. It is the pastor that makes the much money, rides the big car, and flies in private jets. So why wouldn't they tax the church? Unfortunately, not only taxing, but pastors are being targeted now for kidnapping and for other things, because some of these people believe that the church is swimming in money. But you and me know that it is not true. It is the picture we have painted and what we have held up. Instead of righteousness, purity, holiness, justice, and help for the downtrodden, we have held up prosperity. We have held up material progress. We have held up riding big cars, wearing Italian-made shoes. And so why won't the world judge us by their own standard? Okay, let us take it down the more. That law was not a decree that just flew out of the desk of the president, Buhari. It didn't come out as a military decree. It went through the process of lawmaking. Are there no Christians in the National Assembly? Are there no Christians there? When they were doing the public hearing, did they let the pastors know? Did any of us present any position paper rejecting and objecting and saying it cannot be implemented? Did we do that? When it went through the readings, first reading, second reading, and it is passed, what did we do? And now it is signed into law. You begin to make noise. It is already a law. Even when Daniel knew that the king has signed a law that was even contrary to him, he did not stop doing what God wanted him to do. And it is in obedience to God that God demonstrated his power. Even though he was thrown into the lion's den, there God made himself manifest and shut the mouth of lions. Those people that conspired and threw him in, made the law, signed it, threw him into the lion's den, were the ones that the lions ate. But Daniel was spared by the Lord. Today God is looking for men and women who will rise up in faith. Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, even though they are thrown into the fire, fire did not consume them. This law will not destroy the church. That is what I'm declaring. It will not destroy the church. Rather, it will teach us wisdom, that we may be able to focus on the things that matter for our God. We are ministers of the gospel. We are not merchandise of money and material things. So let us return to the Lord. Hosea 6, let us return to the Lord. Even though we may be bruised, may God revive us and restore us, give us and give us back the ministry that we should do, and help us to do that which is pleasing in His sight. So let us be obedient to the Lord. And I believe that if we are obedient to God, this nation will change. The poor will be helped. Corruption will be challenged. Ostentatious living and false pretenses and all these show off will die. God resists the proud, but to the humble He giveth grace. Let us humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. And I'm believing God that even in CAMA, God will be exalted and the church will be blessed. Making noise will not save us, because we did not do what we should do in the process of the making of the law, and the reason why the law is coming, and the lifestyle we have displayed. It demanded that accountability will be required of us. And if man is demanding, if the government is demanding accountability, what of God? So may God help us. We need to pray and return to God.
It is still our business in politics, and we still have in the studio the Venerable Tunde Oyeshina, who is a legal practitioner and also a priest in the Diocese of Kubwa, Church of Nigeria, Anglican Communion. Before we went on that break, we have earlier said that for your comments and contributions, you can call the number on your screen, and we still expect your calls, please. You can call in. Now, following the comment of the primate of the Church of Nigeria, do you think the church is living its mandate?
Very well. I quite agreed with the comments of our Father in the Lord and our leader. When you look at the church today, the church is not doing what God has built it to do. I agreed with all his submissions from beginning to the end. Like in Hosea chapter 14 verse 1, if the church can come back to the Lord, if the church can come back to its drawing point, in fact, the church should be a reference point in any country. The church has now been subdued because the church has neglected the ancient landmark. The church has now been subdued because the church is now majoring in the minor and minoring in the major. But I know fully well that if the church, and take note, when we are talking about the church, we are not talking about the buildings. We are not talking about the denominations. We are talking about you and I, whether with color or without color. We are talking about those that are called by the name of Christ. If we can come back to Bethel, if we can go back to the original starting point, come back to God and do what God is asking us to do, to proclaim the gospel, to proclaim the year of God's coming, then the church will take back its rightful position.
All right, thank you. Hold your thought. We have Mr. John on the line from Ile-Ife. Please go ahead and make your submission. Mr. John, are you there? We can't hear you. You can call back. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. John. Please go ahead.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello.
All right. Please, let's continue. Now, having done your submission on what we've just heard, let's go back to... We still have a caller. Hello? All right. Let's go back to the CAMA. What is your thought on the restriction of multiple directorship in public companies?
That is for one person to be directors in several companies.
Yes.
I also believe that it might not be healthy for our economy, because resources will be concentrated in the hand of the few minority.
Okay.
The resources should spread around. Now, when you look at the concept of what we see in Nigeria, the rich continue to be rich,
exactly,
while the poor continue to be poor. Why? Because the riches concentrate in the hand of the minority. Let it spread round. Let it go round.
Okay, so if you are a director in one company, you maintain that place. Let another person know that you are a director here.
You are controlling here, controlling here, controlling here, controlling here. And you know how it works.
Hold your thought. We have a caller on the line. Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
This is Mr. John from Ife.
All right, please go ahead, Mr. John.
What the bishop was just talking about. Presently, I can see everything. Because the bishop said a word that contradicts himself. If he's talking about death, the senators also have death. If we talk about plane, the senators also are also flying planes, and nobody is taxing them or what. Okay. So presently, even God Himself that is watching us know the truth. The senators know what to do. Forget about men of God. He Himself that is talking has a big car, not one jeep, not two. And I know if they are going to buy jet for him, he will not say no. But what I know is that the Bible says before you talk to another man, first of all remove the one in your eye before you talk to the next person. God bless you, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, can you reply?
Well,
can you...
Mr. John, I wouldn't like you to have a misconception of what His Grace have said. If you listened to him attentively, what he was trying to say is that the church, and which I believe and I agree, that the church have neglected its primary role, its primary duty, and its primary assignment.
Yeah.
What the church is doing, the church have neglected what God has instructed. The church have neglected the blueprint. And what is the blueprint? Is to bring sinners, is to preach the gospel of Christ to the dying soul. Is to preach the gospel of Christ to the dying soul. So I'm thinking what His Grace is saying is a call on the church to come back to its original assignment. When we come back to our original assignment, all other things will fall in place.
And basically, he is not saying that private jet or cars or wealth is bad.
No.
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 But what he's saying is that they shouldn't be the focus,
the priority
of the church. It shouldn't be the priority. We have a mandate, Matthew 28, 19 to 20.
Yes.
go therefore into the world and preach the gospel. That is the primary mandate of the church. And that is why he's saying church should focus on that.
The primary mandate.
When these things, of course the Bible says, when we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, these other things will be added. So if they follow, if they come, to God be the glory. All right, thank you so much. Now, quickly, we were looking at restriction of multiple directorship, which you have explained to us that there is no point to have just one person being a director. In fact,
many... it is section 307 sub 1 of the new CAMA. And what is
Hold on, we have a caller. Hello?
Yes, I'm Apostle John from Makurdi, Benue State.
Thank you, Apostle John, for calling in. Please make your summation.
In the place of this law of CAMA, it is not godly and it is not helpful, because if you see, the church is contributing to the economy of Nigeria.
Yeah.
So many things that is happening in Nigeria that church contributed to. Church build even houses for people, church build hospitals, and they're contributing in diverse ways. And when they are talking about men of God are prosperous or living large, if Jesus is here now, Jesus is going to use the private jet. Jesus is going to use a private jet. The donkey and the ass Jesus used then was the greatest means of movement that time. Okay. Anyone that used ass that time is a big man. It's not small. Yes, I know that pastors and churches, there are ways they are not living right. But it is not the government that is going to judge the church. It is God. It is not the government. It's not man. It is God. So what am I trying to say? We should just take it that there are some people that are trying to winch hurt the church, not that they are doing anything. The law of CAMA is not helping the government in any way at all. Yes, there are some ways that some pastors will do some things that will affect the government. Government can follow them up in that way, not to say that they will set up a committee that will. Okay,
thank you.
Which
thank
committee?
You so
where
much,
are they coming
Apostle.
from? Who?
You have made your submission. Thank you so much. So we are rounding up gradually. You were trying to make a submission before the caller.
Yes. Section 307 sub 1 provides, it prohibits a person being a director in more than 5 public companies at a time. In more than 5 public companies at a time. What is this? Let it go round. Let the resources go round. Let's think of the poor. Let it not be that it is only the rich. You know, if the rich continues to be rich and the poor continues to be poor, insecurity will not end in the land.
It will not.
It will not
I
end in the
agree
land.
with you completely.
It will not end in the land.
That's true. All right, thank you so much. Now, where do you see this country heading to if this CAMA is not referred back to the National Assembly?
Well, I don't want to preempt what the ruling of the court may be. I don't want to preempt what the leaders of the Christian faith may do. All we need to do is to continue to pray. We've had more brutal draconian laws like this, but with prayer, I believe so strongly that what the church should do now, aside taking legal action, taking legal means. Of course, I read a report credited to the Vice President that the CAN should make their submissions to the National Assembly. While we are doing that, while legalmente, and I'm aware also that a group of lawyers are approaching the court to challenge this portion of CAMA. While all these are going on, the church also should pray.
All right. All right, thank you so much. Now, quickly, what is your advice to the government and the church?
Well, first, my advice to the government is this. We are in a land that is by law. And when we make a law, the law should be seen as portraying justice and not selfishness. Okay. The law should not be seen as witch hunting. The law should not be seen to be for some people and not for some people. But for the church, I also say, let the church do more of prayers. And I also subscribe to the submission of His Grace, the Primate of all Nigeria, that the church should go back to the base. The church should go back to its primary assignment. The church should go back to what it is called to do. Let the church go back to its primary assignment. When the church go back to the primary assignment, well, things will be better. And just like I said earlier on, let the church also fully participate in politics. Let the church not just single-handedly be, not individuals be single-handedly coming out. Let the church has a structure. Let the church has, I don't think it's out of place if the church has a political structure. It's not out of place. If the church floats a party, it's not out of place. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the Venerable Barrister Tunde Oyeshina. We have to thank you so much for honoring our invitation and for coming to share your thought on this very important issue.
Thank you very much.
That is causing a lot of uproar in our country. Barrister Tunde is a legal practitioner and also a priest. He is the Cathedral Archdeacon of St. Bartholomew's Church in Kubwa Diocese. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Viewers, this is where we draw the curtain. Please always remember, politics is unavoidable. Politics is necessary. Please get involved in politics directly or indirectly. Until we come your way again, same time, same station next week. I remain Smart Simon.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and viewers and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Advent Cable Network Nigeria, ACNNTV. Introducing a new way to watch ACNN 24 hours on your mobile device. Download the VM Africa app for Android from Google Play Store and then install. Open. Click on ACNN TV to be up to date with our news and other programs.